Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Daryl Brewer. I'm the Economic Development Manager here at the Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to another State of Your Business webinar. I'm here with the legend, Mr. Bob Ray Sanders, and I'm going to kick it over to Bob Ray and let him give us some analysis. Bob Ray, are you there?
I am here. Thank you, sir. First of all, as we were been saying for the last couple of weeks, we'd like you to reserve the date of June 25th from noon to about 1:15 for our annual luncheon. We did not have an annual luncheon last year, but we're going to do it this year. Most of it will be virtual. I mean, most people would view it virtually. There will be a few people who will be in attendance, and because we're still, abiding by the coronavirus mandates. So we can only have a few people there, but we would love for all of our members and those who support us to join in. It will be, as I said, at noon, June 25th. Our speaker coming up from Houston will be Dr. Cass L. Lawal. He's the owner of the only national bank in Texas and Louisiana, or in Arkansas. And the thing is, he is coming here to talk about banking relationships, something the Chamber has been trying to do for the last couple of years now. But banking relationships in times like these, that's going to be his topic. He's one of the richest Black men in America. He's involved in not only banking, but shipping, cargo, things that deal with oil and gas, refinery. He does it all. So tune in for that. Again, June 25th at noon. You can find information about that on our Facebook page and on our website. So go to either one of those to figure out how to join in that. Every second Tuesday night, every second Thursday night, every second of the month Thursday, we have at 7 p.m. the Let's Get Connected networking event. That's where you can tune in through Zoom now, but we hope to do it live coming up soon to get with other people that you might want to get to know, share your stories of business, make new connections with. That's what it's all about. That's 7 p.m. Every second Thursday of the month. Also, every third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. is the Next Level Entrepreneur School. It is a 2-hour interactive workshop about learning skills in marketing, digital marketing, accounting, bookkeeping, income, profit, loss statements, bids and quotes, pricing, everything that you need in starting a business and continuing with a new business. Again, 7 p.m. the third Tuesday of every month. And just a reminder, some things from the city and state. The city public Wi-Fi is being expanded. The city is going to expand the Wi-Fi into at least 5 new neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods are Ash Crescent, Como, North Side, Rosemont, and Stop 6 neighborhoods. As we know, these are Wi-Fi deserts. They're internet deserts to a great degree. And that's why some of our kids in school had a difficult time keeping up because they didn't have access to the internet. And finally, for those of you who've been unemployed, perhaps, or know someone who's been unemployed and was getting the $300 per week extra from the federal government in unemployment benefits, the governor has decided that program in Texas will end on June 26th. So unlike what the country was told, that it would go until September, those funds are going to run out on the 26th of June in the state of Texas. So you just need to be aware of that. And Daryl, that's it for announcements.
All right, Bob Ray, we thank you. Appreciate you so much for giving us that information. For those who have joined, we have an exciting, I think an exciting panelist today. And even the topic that's important to really most everyone, because here in Texas, for sure, you generally need a car to get around. And we have someone today. She has more than 22 years experience in the car business. She's a consultant for over 100 dealers, car dealerships. She's been involved in various brands, the Hondas, the Kias, the Nissans, the Chevys. And so she's going to talk to us today and tell us about some secrets of the car business, whether you're buying it, whether you are financing. And her name is Christi Henderson. Christi, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure. And as I was saying, we all need, well, most of us need a car or want a car, an automobile to get around, especially if you live in a place like Texas, where things are so spread out. So we appreciate you coming on. Would you just start off by giving us, I said a little bit about your history, but go ahead and tell us a little more detail about your history in the car business, would you?
Well, as you stated, I have over 22 years in the automobile industry, which is a male-dominant industry. Only 3% women are in management positions on the sales side. I've been the general manager of multiple dealerships at one time, finance director for over 15 years, sold cars for 13 months, salesperson of the month every month. And so it kind of shot me up the ladder really, really quick. Now I do consult dealerships. I have, as you said, over 100 contracts that I go in and clean up dealerships when numbers are in the red. I'm in the process right now of doing a minority group. I qualify for minority owning. And so we're just trying to see what model, what point, they call them open points. So you don't determine where the dealership is wherever the franchise is opening a point. And if you want to live in that area, then you get that point. But I am up for that.
Awesome. That is great. Well, we're going to really hand it over to you. And so you can just tell us whatever you want us to know. We'll be interactive. And I generally stop when there's something that pops up that's really, I think, a question that the audience wants to know. So, but I'm going to hand it to you to just kind of tell us whatever you'd like us to know at this point.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for having me. It's very, very imperative that you know a little bit about the car business, because it does have an industry that I mean, a name that I'm trying to change, where a lot of people think that, you get raw deals, and sometimes you do. I'm just going to be honest. If you're not educated, I'm going to talk about both sides on today. We have what we call the front end, and then we have the back end. The front end is the buying of the car. And I'm just going to give you 5 real important principles to know when you're going to buy a car. First, I would say, search the car out that you want to buy. Go online. The internet is powerful these days. So anything you want to know about a car, you can go to the internet. So do that before you go to the dealership. So they won't put you in what they want to put you in, because dealers know what money they have in a car. They know what car is going to make the money. And so they try to deter you from going to buy what you want to buy, into tricking you or making you feel like you can't buy that specific car. So that's number one. Know what you're looking. Do your search before you go to the dealership. The second thing I want to say is, online pricing is key. We call that internet sales. You get the best deal when you're doing internet sales. The price is what it is. A lot of times I would tell customers to print that out before you go to the dealership, because I've encountered where people will change the price while you're sitting there buying the car. So print the internet price out before you go to the car when you find that specific car that you're looking for. The third thing is, know what if you're trading a car in, Know what your Blue Book value is on your car. Do your research. You can go to Kelly Blue Book, NADA. Know what your trade value is, because if you don't know what your trade value is, they'll hold money on you. For instance, let's say your car is worth $8,000. They'll offer you $6,000. You not knowing that the car is worth $8,000 because you didn't do your homework. So know the value of your car. The fourth thing I would say is don't even tell them that you have a trade until you work the numbers, if that makes sense to you. Throw your trade in once you get to the price of the car that you want. That way they can't hold money, because if you tell them you got a trade right off the back, they're going to hold on you. They won't be able to hold money if you throw the trade in once you do the pricing of your car. The last thing I want to say, never tell them that you want to be at a certain payment. Always work price. And for those who writing that down, never say, I want to be at $400 a month. Always work the bottom line, because the payment is what it is. If you tell them that you want to be in, for instance, $400 a month, they might have $6,000 markup to get you to that $400 payment, and they just made that much money on you. So always work bottom line, never work prices. Never work prices. So there's just some key things. And if you guys have questions on buying, that's the front end, that's the buying process. Now we go to the financing, which is very, very important. I always tell people that I know a lot of people call me. I'm in Kansas right now, one of my dealers, and I had someone to call me yesterday because they're buying a car. I always tell people, always try to get your own financing before you go. If you can get your own finance, deal with your own credit union, your own bank, because they're going to have your best interests at heart. For most of us with credit challenges, that might not be possible. Then the dealer has about 30 different lenders that they can take you through. That's number one. Number two, know what your credit score is. You'll be amazed. A lot of people come to the dealership and say, I think my credit score is a 600, but they're 850. They just made a home run on you, because you can mark up rates. It's not illegal, but the bank, just like buying a home, they will say, hey, I'll do this loan for 3.5% plus 2 points. That means the dealer can mark that up 2.5 points. And that could be another $3,000. You got to understand that every $1,000 is $20 in your payment. So if they're holding $3,000 on you, your payment just went up 60 more bucks. So that's very important in the financing. I always say, never finance your tax, title, license, and fees. Never do that, because you're paying interest on your tax, title, license, and fees. If you can, put that money down. Never put that into your loan, because you're paying interest on that. Very, very important. Another thing with financing is always make sure that you've spoken to your bank. Because again, the dealer, if you come in and you have a check, for instance, USAA, I just dealt with a customer that was a USAA customer. Okay. You can't mark up their stuff. You can't sell them products. And that's another thing I want to talk about. When you go to finance, and we've all been done this way, even before I started being in the business, you go to finance. Oh man, they try to sell you all these different products. The only thing I would say to a customer is to purchase gap insurance. Never buy a car without gap insurance, especially a new car vehicle, because once you drive off the lot, you have to understand that you're buying something that depreciates 1/3% the moment you drive it off the lot. It's not like a house where the value goes up. The moment you drive it off, you just lost money. So that's why I don't like putting a lot of money down on something that's going to depreciate. They'll tell you, you got to have XYZ dollars down, especially if your credit is good. You don't have to have money down. So if you put $5,000 down, when you drive off the lot, you're even because that car depreciates $3,000 to $5,000 the moment you drive it off. If you do your homework, the first year of ownership, 1/3 of your car has lost its value. So that's 30% of the value within the first year because the car depreciates. So that's where gap insurance comes in. I tell everybody, never purchase a car without gap insurance. What gap insurance does is guaranteed asset protection. It protects your asset. What it is, it takes care of the point of what your car is worth as opposed to what you owe on the car. If that car is total, the bank doesn't care anything about what you own on the car. They're only going to pay the market value. So gap insurance pays that difference of the depreciation. So always in finance, never leave without gap insurance. If I were you, I would try to do it through my insurance company and not through the dealership because they mark those products up. So those are some of the key things. It's so much, it would take me a day for you to know all the secrets and the hidden things of car buying experience. A lot of things can be hidden. It's not illegal. It's just you as a buyer. You don't know the language. Know the language. That's why a lot of people call me and say, what does this mean? One thing I want to talk to you about that's very, very important. The reason why I say know what your credit score is, because they'll mark the rate up on you, as I said earlier. And that could be the difference of $2,000 or $3,000 in your financing. So always know what your credit score is. You'll be amazed. Many people they have no clue of what their credit score is. So those are the things that I wanted. That's the most important, is the finance part, is know what your credit score is. Do not finance your tax, title, license, and fees. Try to get pre-approved before you go so they won't mark up the rate on you. It's called buy rate. So if you're listening to me and you can write that down, write down buy rate. That's what the bank buys your rate at. And once you ask the dealer, what's my buy rate? They have to give it to you. If not, then it becomes illegal. If you don't ask what it is, they don't have to give it to you. But if you do, then they have to give you that, and they can't mark that up on you. It becomes illegal. So it's a thin line. Always ask, what's the buy rate? So those are just some key things. And if you have questions, I'll answer any questions that one may have.
Wow. That is a mouthful.
It's so much. It's way more. I could teach a class 7 days on the hidden things of buying a car.
Well, that's great. I appreciate it so much. I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
So let's see where we're going to start at. Well, the first thing you said on the buying side is to know what vehicle you want. Okay.
Absolutely.
So how do I know what I want? What questions should I ask myself and be clear on before I go to the internet and figure that out?
When I say know what you want, that means know what kind of car. For instance, I like BMWs. That's an individual thing, knowing what you want to buy, because I would hope no one just gets up and say, I want to buy a car, but I don't know what kind of car I want.
People do. I know they do.
Yeah, that's a bad thing there. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Again, know what you want, because if you don't, you go to that dealership and you say, I don't know what I want. They're going to put you on what's going to make the most money.
So, but you like BMWs, but I don't know. Okay, now I personally have a few. I like to keep my options open down to 2 or 3 because I'm looking for the best deal for me, so to speak.
Absolutely.
But if a person says, well, I don't know if, say I want an SUV, but maybe I don't know if I want an SUV or not, or what are the types of things should I look for? Okay, I don't know. Should I choose a Japanese car? Should I have a German car? Should I have an American maker? I don't know. How do I determine what I like, what I want?
The best cars are import cars,
Okay.
not domestic. If you're looking for something that's going to last you for a long time, of course, a Toyota or a Honda.
Okay.
If you I don't want to, steer people the wrong way. I'm an import because I know that you can drive 200,000 or 300,000 miles on that. If you're looking for resale value, the import cars is going to give you the bigger resale values. Toyotas, Hondas, the resale value on those are very, very high. On the domestic side, Jeeps they hold their value. Fords, not so much. Chevrolet, not so much. So if you're looking for something that's doable, that's you're gonna be able to keep for a long time, I would go with import, like a Honda or a Toyota.
So when here in the chamber, of course, we're always talking about helping our members, community,
right, mm-hmm.
make money, grow their equity, reduce the difference between what other people have in the bank and what we have in the bank, et cetera.
Yes.
So when you talk about the imports, talk about how that can affect you. You bought, instead of buying an import, you choose to buy this big domestic SUV because, and let's talk about people who don't have very much money.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I got my STEMI, as they call it in the hood. I got my income tax check and I got my STEMI. And my credit ain't super good, but it's enough for me to be able to get a vehicle. And, I've known people who, how we are. We like the name. We like the big vehicle. We like certain things.
Absolutely.
Talk about financially how that can affect you when you decide you want this big brand name, this big vehicle versus like an import, like you're talking about. How can that affect you financially? I don't know if you can give any specific examples of that.
Oh yeah, I do financial classes. Whenever you're going to buy something, you got to know your budget. I don't care what anything costs as long as it fits into my budget. And the way you know if it fits in your budget, if you got to think about it twice, then you probably don't need it.
Okay. So if I buy, like a big, I buy a big Cadillac, for instance. Okay. An Escalade.
Mm-hmm.
That's 15 years old because I don't really know what I want. I kind of maybe want an SUV, but they got this big, nice, pretty looking Escalade that's 15, 20 years old. And now that meets the price point or my payment versus I've seen people get that versus getting a Honda Accord or a Honda Civic.
Well, in that part, I like I said, it's an individual because again, 22 years, a lot of people, and I'm just going to be honest, a lot of us, we come in and we want that particular car that you're saying because it looks good, but because it looks good don't mean that it's a good investment. I've seen people come in and buy a 12-year-old, like you said, Escalade with 150,000 miles and pay $15,000 for it. That's not a good investment because you still owe on something that's worth $4,000. So individually, you have to. Well, it's a case by case basis. Now there are some people who credit won't. That's all they allow. You have to. I can't speak for someone. I can't speak for everyone because it's a case by case basis. A lot of people come into my dealership. And I do things to educate them that the dealer probably won't be glad that I did it, but I'm into educating people. I'll get them back into the finance, and say, hey, I don't think if you want my expertise, I don't think this is a good thing for you to do. Because a lot of times we get into these cars and then we can't get out of them. You're so upside down that you're stuck on that car. And that's another thing want to talk about being upside down. That's what I mean by don't allow them to tell you to finance your tax, title, license, and fees. Don't allow them, know your credit score. That way they won't mark the rate up on you, because again, when you drive off the lot, this car is a depreciating item. So that's why a lot of times when people go to dealerships, it's nothing we can do for them, because the person before us put them in a bad situation, and you so upside down that it's going to take you $10,000 down to even buy a car. So that's what I mean by do your homework. Don't allow them to just put you in a car, because remember, salesman is just a salesman. Most of them don't have your best interest at heart. And so I do a lot of educating when I'm with the customer. And I've had some that I tell them, hey, walk away from this deal. This is not a good deal. Because again, I do it for the passion. Whenever you do something for passion, money will follow.
Right. And that's what I was trying to get to, because I want to be clear to people and not kind of nebulous out there. Look, if you can get this thing that's for $10,000, but understand that it ain't worth but $3,500.
Right.
But that's because that's the resale value of that. But you can buy another vehicle spend that same $10,000, and 2 years from now it'll still be worth $8,000.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I want you to talk about and be clear about it if you can. I don't know, maybe you can.
Yeah.
And then also the maintenance on that vehicle that you purchased at $10,000 that's really worth $3,500 versus another car at $10,000 and you don't have no maintenance on it, basically.
Right. When you talk about that right there, a lot of us don't know. Always ask for the OFAC on the car. It'll let you know everything that's been done. The Carfax, I'm sorry. Always ask for the Carfax. Because the Carfax, once a car is registered, it's in the NADA, National Dealer Association, and that's where the Carfax is derived from. So if that car has been in a wreck, a lot of times people, go to these dealerships and they want this nice looking car, but you don't know it's been in 3 accidents. So the value is dropped on it. Or you go buy this car and then it has a salvage title. If it has a salvage title, you can never trade that car in because no one's going to take a salvage title. So your Carfax will tell you all that. It'll tell you all the maintenance on it. It'll tell you if the car has ever been in a wreck. It'll tell you if the car has a salvage title. So if someone's listening, they need to always ask for the Carfax.
Okay. And what if, I know sometimes they offer free Carfax. I've seen that, but other times they have a Carfax, but you have to pay for it.
You should never have to pay for a Carfax if you're at a dealership. Never. That's the law. If you come into a dealership and ask for the Carfax, they should print that Carfax. If they make you pay, you tell them that I'm going to call and report you. The Carfax is free from the dealer. Now, if you're not at the dealership and you want to look at a specific car online, you have to pay for that one. But with the dealer, the Carfax is free.
Okay. So if I'm looking online, because I know sometimes you can look online and it'll say free Carfax and you can click and you can see it. Other times it'll say Carfax, and then when you click on it, you have to pay online to get that information.
Well, online you do, but the dealership, you do not have to pay for the Carfax.
Right. Regardless of the type of dealership. If it's
regardless.
Amen, somebody.
That's part of your deal. Now it's gotten to a point that the customer has to sign every piece of the Carfax to not be sued. So if you go into a dealership, you're supposed to sign the Carfax stating that they gave you the Carfax.
Wow. All right then.
Because again, a lot of people are selling cars that have salvage titles
Right.
They're selling cars. They're not doing disclosures saying that the car has been wrecked. And so if they sell your car that's being wrecked, you're stuck in that car, because once people know that the car has been wrecked, then no one wants to really buy a wrecked car. So that Carfax is very important. Ask for that Carfax, because it will tell you every time there has been maintenance or a major problem on that car. It's on the Carfax, the date and the time and who did it.
All right. So I had a question regarding financing. You were talking about what's the buy rate, and for every $1,000, that's approximately $20 on your payment, that sort of stuff. But how does a person walk in and figure out? Because I understand your point. If it's $10,000 and my buy rate is whatever, then some kind of way I ought to be able to figure out what the payment ought to be. But I don't know how to do that. Can you tell me how to do that?
Well, in order for you to be able to calculate that, you have to have an itemized calculator. You can't calculate that from a regular calculator. When you go in dealerships, their computers are itemized. So if I put your buy rate in there, it automatically calculates what your finance charge is over the period of time that you're financing. So get you a calculator, or go to a computer that will do that for you. Now you can calculate your payment online. So
but
if
I'm
you go
in the dealership, we're in the dealership and we're talking, and you gave me this, this nugget of information, but I'm trying to figure out how I can actually use it while I'm in the dealership.
Well, at that point is, again, ask them for the buy rate. Then you can do your payment. Okay, you can go to your phone. If the car is $30,000, you put in 3.5% interest. It'll calculate for you, but you got to know the right interest rate.
Okay, so the buy rate is my interest rate.
Yes,
okay.
That's what your interest rate is.
Okay, all right, very good. And I know there's a calculation to do that. I got you. All right, very good. Okay.
But you want to know that buy rate, because again, they don't have to tell you if you don't ask for it.
Understand.
They can mark it up, and you'll be amazed at what 2 points on $30,000 would do to your payment.
Right. And so when you're looking through your paperwork that you're going to sign, you're looking for your interest rate, your buy rate, interest rate, and you're looking for the bottom line, what you said I'm purchasing this vehicle for.
Absolutely. Always make them read we call that the truth in lending box. It's the box that has your payment, your interest rate, how much you're paying, your amount financed, and how much you're paying with your interest added to it. That's the truth in lending box.
Yeah, but they blow by that and just get to the bottom line.
Don't let them blow by it.
Blow by that right quick.
Because by
law.
Yeah, by law, if you don't read that box, you're in violation of a $10,000 fine.
All right. Well, those are the questions I have. Bob Ray, you have questions or questions from the audience?
Yeah, I have a few. We also have one question from the audience.
Oh, let me say this right quick. By the way, if you want to ask a question and you're in Zoom, type it in the Q&A or type it into the chat, and we'll read it aloud, and Ms. Henderson can answer it. Or if you're on Facebook, go ahead and type it in the comment section, and again, we'll read it aloud. Go ahead, Mr. Bob Ray, the legend.
All right, thank you. Christi, thank you very much. Most of us who have learned some of the lessons you're teaching us, we had to learn the hard way.
Right.
Even those of us who thought we were smart and knew what we were doing and went in, thought we were prepared, come out and say, God, what just happened to me? I feel like I just got raped in that dealership. So thank you for this good information. One of our audience members says they had a student who, we were talking about dealerships, but the student bought a car from the tote the note place. What advice do you give about dealing with people who say they will tote the note?
I'm not a fan of tote the note, but like I said, everybody's situation is different. If your credit is challenged, then sometimes you have to go to a tote the note lot. But with a tote the note lot, you got to understand this. And another thing, sometimes you think your credit is bad, but it's not as bad. We get in a hurry too much. For one, we want a car, we want it now. With a tote-to-note lot, they're going to mark that up 4 times what it's worth. Because remember, used cars are being done. I go to the auction myself. You can buy a car for $2,500 and you can sell that car for $7,500. It's a lot of markup in these cars. So with the tote-to-note lot, they're going to always ask you, excuse me, for a lot of money down. Normally what they're asking you for is what they paid for the car for. All that other is just profit.
Wow.
So that's one thing. Yeah, a tote-to-note lot, I can guarantee you this individual probably put $2,000 or $3,000 down, and that's what the lot bought the car for. And the other, again, is just profit. So you have to be careful about going to the tote-to-note lot. Second of all, when you're buying cars from tote-to-note lot, they buy all their cars from an auction. Remember, at the auction, you can't test cars, so you don't know what's wrong with the car. So a lot of tote-to-note cars, when people buy cars, they end up with engine problems because these tote-to-note lots know how to fix a car, patch it up to get you down the street. Once you drive off the lot, you own the car.
Right. And very few have warranties at all, right?
Absolutely. They're not going to, it's as is. Absolutely. So,
Right.
So I would say don't be so quick to go and buy a car, because most of the time, if you got enough down payment, if you don't have a lot of repossessions, I can get you done. We think that sometimes our credit is bad. Oh, no one's going to finance me. So I go to, you have lenders like Santander, Westlake. You have lenders that deal with bad credit people that you can buy from a dealer that's not going to sell you a car with 150,000 miles on it. Most tote-to-note lots, they have over 100,000 miles on these cars.
All right. You mentioned getting the gap insurance. What? And again, I had to learn this the hard way. When they finally say, the salesperson finally says, "Okay, now we're going to take you to our finance officer." Mm-hmm. I'm old enough to know now that means they're going to try to sell me some more stuff.
Absolutely.
And that they're going to put into, the things that's going to be financed. What is there some things that we should, aside from the gap, are there things that we should accept? Or my thing is just basically say no to everything.
The only thing I would tell a customer to buy is gap insurance.
Okay.
Because most of the time when you're buying extended service contract or warranty, it's limited to what it's going to fix. So when you buy these warranties, you're under description of the service department of what's going to be covered and what's not going to be covered. I'm in the car business. I've never bought an extended service contract. The only thing I buy is a warranty.
Okay.
Gap insurance. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And speaking of service, now many dealerships make their money. I mean their annual profits off of their service as opposed to the profits they get from the cars. Am I right? Or
your service department and your finance department is where your money's coming from.
Okay.
I've ran multiple dealerships. My money comes from my service department and it comes from my finance department, because there's a lot of markup in the you got about 12 different things you can mark up in finance. You can mark up the interest rate. Like I said, you can mark up the warranty. You can mark up the gap. You can mark up the maintenance. You can mark up the tire. It's so many. They sell over about 12 different products that's all marked up. And your service, that's why they drive these. Now think about this. The reason why they drive you to buy this stuff in the finance department is because it's going to take you back to their sales department.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
One feeds the other.
Okay. But would you recommend? I mean, I know people are two different sets. Some people will always use the dealership for their service. Some people never use the dealership for their service once they bought the car. What do you recommend?
Mm-hmm. I would recommend that you service the car where you buy it.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
And they do keep a record of the services being done.
Absolutely. That's why I recommend that, because That's very, very important question that you just brought up, because if you buy a new car and something goes wrong with that new car and you took it to another individual, that can not non and void your whole warranty on the car.
Oh,
If you go outside.
okay.
So that's very important. People don't know that it can void your warranty. You have to read the fine print. That's why I say go to where you bought the car. They have records.
Okay, you mentioned, having been in ownership, you mentioned that 3% of women are actually own dealerships.
Uh-huh.
What percent of minorities own dealerships?
1%, sir.
Okay, now I asked that because I knew a handful of minority owners. It seems back in the middle or late 70s, some companies were trying to get more minority owners of their products, some of the big car dealers.
Mm-hmm.
And minorities went into it, but they didn't last because they said they didn't get much help from the corporation once they got the dealership.
I can tell you that is true. That's why I've been offered multiple dealerships, but I'm taking my time. A lot of times with minority, they put them in rural areas, they put them in bad areas.
Right. So the customer base isn't there.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sorry. And again, you got to realize that's why I say you can never be too quick to do anything, because I could say it, you know what, I'm going to take this dealership. Now I own a dealership. That's a big achievement, but they put me in an area where I'm not going to do well. And so with minorities, that's the reason why so we've had this conversation in ownership meetings, why minorities fail. And that's the reason why they always put you in a bad area where you're not going to do well. That's because you were rushing.
Right. And in fact, I have a classmate from high school who was in a dealership, and that's exactly what they did. They placed him for outside of Dallas County, and he was expected to make it. But talking about rushing in, a lot of minorities, and you can, I know what dealers who are out there trying to appeal to minorities, and the pitch is, we can get you in a car today. We can make sure you leave with the car today if you come see us, and we'll take care of everything. And often minorities go there wanting their car that very day, and will accept almost anything that the dealer offers, including very high interest rates.
Right. That's the reason why I said do your homework. You might remember. Do you remember Buzz Post?
Oh yeah.
Dealership.
Yeah.
Well, you remember they were one of the most lucrative dealerships there have ever been in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the reason why they're closed down today is because of that very thing. Make it a minority can have a 700 credit score, and a non-minority can have a 7 score. And they were charging minorities higher interest rate than they was with the same type of credit. So that happens all the time. That's why I say know your credit score before you go. We get audited all the time because that happens all the time. When I was running my dealership, I fired someone because I noticed they would make difference in what they charge you on your interest, interest rate. So you're absolutely correct. That's why you gotta know what your credit score is.
And what do you, if you feel like you have been discriminated against, is there some place you can go to complain about it other than the dealer themselves?
You can get, they have discrimination attorneys for that. Because I'm telling you, I've been in it 22 years. It happens all the time. I'm an African American general manager, and it was trying to happen at my store until I caught wind of it. It happens all the time. They see you walk in the door and they see I'm going to take advantage of it. It's still happening today. And that's because we're not educating ourselves enough to know, what my credit. Again, you'll be amazed at how many people don't know what their credit score is, how many people don't know that they qualify for something better, how many people think their credit is bad and they go to a tote the note lot. And then once they get you in that position, it's hard for me to get you out of it.
And the other thing you said too, that I know people who've been there who will walk into a dealership and automatically tell the salesperson, I don't want to pay more than $400 a month.
Never do that. Always talk bottom line. Okay. Never talk payments, because I can make that payment any way you want it and still make $6,000. That's why you talk bottom line, not payment.
Right. Spread it over many numbers of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, Daryl, those are the questions that I have, and I don't see any more on our Facebook page.
Yeah, I saw some on the Facebook. If you take a closer look at it, you probably, somebody just wrote something. But now you mentioned the credit score, knowing your credit score, how important it is when you come in. But here's the deal. Just because I know my credit score, that doesn't mean I know how to figure out my payment or what my buy rate should be.
Actually, if you go online, again, the internet is a powerful tool. Okay. Most of the time, every bank has their rates online.
But is that rate based upon, does it say, okay, if you have between this score and that score,
we go off what we call a rate matrix, and it goes from 800 to 810 is called a tier 1. It's by tier. So absolutely, you can find that out.
Okay, so
a lot of people just don't take the time to do it.
I don't think, okay, but I promise you, I never knew what I was entitled to. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty educated, but I'm not educated about this. This is why this is important to talk about these things, because this video will be recorded. We're live on Facebook and it's being recorded. So people will be able to come back and look at this. So what you're saying is, based upon your credit score, there is an associated buy rate, interest rate for cars, what have you, that I can take and know that if I take that times the price, this should give me a payment.
Absolutely. You can go, if you go on any dealer website, right, you can create a car deal. You can create cars. You can go in there and it'll tell you if you're a 700 score, 2.99, you can put that in there and it will calculate what your payment is supposed to be.
Right. But what I'm saying is, for me, this is new to me, that I could look at my credit score and then know how much interest rate I should be charged, at least in the ballpark. I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you go on Bank of America, we're just going to say Bank of America, right? And say sure. you want to finance a car. They're going to have their rates on there.
Associated with my credit score.
Absolutely. Everybody do. The dealership is not the only person that have access to that. The consumer has access to that as well. You just don't know it. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. So you mentioned earlier that you suggest to have your car serviced wherever you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some factors in my mind. I'm thinking, I don't know. Like, one, if I happen to buy a Toyota at a Nissan, because I'm buying a used car at a Nissan dealership, should I keep taking it back to the Nissan dealership, or should I take it to the Toyota dealership? And should I consider a good mechanic that's not necessarily, a dealer mechanic?
As long as
the vehicle is 10 years old, for instance.
As long as they ASE certified, then it's no problem. I
Okay.
say that to take it back to the dealer because they have records. Now, if you go to Joe Blow, he's not going to have records of those are important. A lot of people come in and they'll trade their car in and they'll have the records of every oil change, every service they've done, and that helps with your trade-in value.
Sure. And so I think so that's easier when you go to the dealership. However, when I grew up 30 years ago, I learned about in Mercedes that books and records were important because at the Mercedes, they got the book in the car.
Right.
and every time
Right.
you go, they do the thing in the car, put a stamp on it, what have you. Or even if you go so many miles where it run out of the book, then those people who knew would every time, regardless of where they took it, they kept the paperwork in a particular place. So your point is the books and records is why you were saying the dealership, because that's just easier because it's already, they make a record of it.
Right. And then you don't have to go back and forth if something was done, because again, you can have a warranty. And if the dealer can't prove that something was done, they don't have to fix that car.
Gotcha.
So you're under the discretion of the service department. Warranty or no warranty.
And now those records are computerized, so.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, they don't have to write it down anymore. But again, I get the warranty thing too, because depending on how much warranty you had, I mean, how many years of warranty or months.
Right.
They can disqualify you for getting a warranty if they can't prove there's something. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So there's another question from the audience, and someone wanted to know, how can a dealership sell a used car or a new car to a college student who doesn't even have a job? Is that legal?
And no, it's not. You got to have a job to buy a car.
And you can't assume that a college student doesn't have a job.
Right.
Any college students do, I guarantee you.
Well, right. I think this person probably knew that maybe it happened to their child.
Yeah.
My child get a car and they don't even have a doggone job.
Yeah, you definitely have to have you have to have a job to. It's a lot of factors. Did someone co-sign for them? I don't know that. If they got a co-signer, if it's a parent, then they can co-sign for a car, for a college student.
Right. So the other, and I remember when I was in college that all kinds of credit cards used to come to us.
Yeah, they still do.
So I think that's kind of the same vein that this person, and this person is real saying like, no, student don't have a job. I didn't co-sign for them and they got a car from a dealership.
Well, then that means something illegal was done. A job was made up.
Okay.
Yeah, because they ask for your annual income, right?
Yeah, they always ask for your annual income. You can't. No one can buy a car without a job. The bank ain't having it. So that means something else was done.
Right. So there's another question about, can you buy a vehicle without a driver's license?
Absolutely, you can. Some lenders will take no driver's license. For instance, Honda don't require a driver's license. Capital One does. It just depends on the banks. Some banks you don't need driver's license.
Okay. All right. Well, we're up against our time. This is blown by, which means it was a good conversation. So yes, Christi, we want to thank you and appreciate you for coming. Do you want to give us some parting words before you leave us?
I would just say to the listeners is don't be in a rush. I get it more than enough of people coming into my office who have gotten into a bad situation because they were in a rush. And at that point, it's nothing I can do. I try to do everything that I can. Some people I've helped to get out of that situation, but 9 times out of 10, once you sign those paperwork, you own that car. And that's another thing. They tell you you can't bring a car back, but actually you can. If you don't drive the car off the lot, you can bring that car. A lot of them tell you, no, you signed a contract, but until you drive the car off the lot, you don't own the car.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you again for coming on to the show, and you're giving us a lot of information. I hope that many people will come and review this video for their benefit and figure out the car payment ahead of time.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. All that good stuff. So thank you again. And we just appreciate you so much. And
thank you for having me.
I'm gonna give it to the legend Bob Ray so he can give us our announcements, and we're gonna get out.
All right. Again, thanks a lot, Christian.
Bob Ray?
Yes, just briefly, I'll go through these real quickly. Want to remind people of our annual luncheon, which we will have this year on June 25th at noon, mostly virtual. We'll have, and if you'll check out our Facebook page and any of our social media pages and our website, you will know how to tune into that luncheon. We'll be putting that up later. Dr. Case L. Lawal, who is owner of the only African-American owned bank in Texas and in Louisiana, I think it is. Georgia, thank you. I knew I kept getting that wrong. Thank you. But at any rate, he will be here to talk about banking relationship in times like these. Also a reminder that the second Thursday of each month, we have the Let's Get Connected networking event. So you can get a chance to meet other people doing some of the things that you're doing, connect with people who are doing things that are different than what you're doing. But it's a good networking event, 7 p.m., the second Thursday of the month. And on the third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m., we have a 2-hour next level entrepreneur school that deals with everything about running a business, starting a business, running a business. That's happening every third Tuesday at 7 p.m. Reminder that the city of Fort Worth is expanding its Wi-Fi into 5 more neighborhoods: Ash Crescent, Como, North Side, Rosemont, and Stop 6 neighborhoods. And a reminder that if you have been receiving unemployment benefits from the federal government, in addition to what you're getting from the state, the federal government part of those benefits will be cut off. The governor has decided that we're cutting them off in Texas on June 26th, as opposed to September, which is when they were originally scheduled to run out. So be aware of that. And that's it, Harold.
Bob Ray, we appreciate those announcements. We appreciate Christi Henderson for coming out and giving us a wealth of information, and I hope everyone will take advantage of it. And with that, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next Thursday for the State of Your Business, as God says the same. Bye now.
All right.